You wanna dance?
Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about this. It's taking me a little bit to get all dressed up for this. Just got back from Thanksgiving dinner. We go back to go... Well, not really. It's like at home, so... But happy Thanksgiving for those of you who celebrate it. This is going to be a shorter one because we're just going to be going... I don't anticipate a lot of people being able to join us either. But because we're going to be doing a tour of the floor... for Crusader and Tumbril, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, got everything ready. Let us begin. Welcome, everybody. Of course, that's the case. This has been happening a lot. Usually if I just do this, though, it comes back. There we go. All right, let me pull it back a little bit. All right. Maybe a little bit forward. There we go. Perfecto. How y'all doing? Welcome to IAE Day 7. We've got 2 more days left. But then you've got all of the ships you can rent for the entire rest of the event, starting on Sunday and ending on Wednesday. So got plenty of time. Hey, Mr. Thor, how you doing? Moonstratus, how you doing? All right. I'm going to be in the Discord. Muted. I see a couple people already. Do Drycon, who's not in game yet. We got Iswara, who's not in game yet. We got Rig, who's here, so I'll do that. Give a few minutes for y'all to kind of filter in and hang out. There we go. Drycon, and I think we're good. Yeah, so far. Lore Keeper, Lore Master. Again, how's it going, Thor? Hello, 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 hello. The galaxy looks nice now. All right, so it looks okay. It looks exactly what people wanted for a while, which is a civilian Polaris. But that's another reason why one of those things I'm going to sit in here and go, it ain't coming out anytime soon. Take your expectations and throw it into like the distant future, because that shit ain't coming out anytime soon. And it's going to be 600 fucking bucks, at least $600. Probably about the same price as the Perseus. Crusader, yes. Always appreciate the shirt and tie. Timeless never goes out of style, right? Hey, Paul, how's your day so far? Doing okay. Had Thanksgiving dinner with the family. Well, with my wife and her brother, who are both here. But he's visiting us for a little bit. He's moving down here to Texas, so he's staying with us for a bit. So yeah, just keep that in mind about the Galaxy. The Galaxy looks okay, but it's definitely one of those things where if you're gonna buy it, note that it's gonna be a very long time before CIG gets around to doing it. It's gonna take them a year or two to actually build it once they start building it. See every other capital ship. Besides, they also don't have the tech for the modular tech that they want to build, or the refinery tech. So I'm just surprised that they're building another modular ship. That seems to indicate that CIG is confident enough that by the time this ship is released, they will have modularization in. Which is a bold move. Let's see how it works out. Still too many unknowns with the Galaxy before I can commit to too much money. I mean, we generally know what it is. In general, it is it is probably going to sit between a Connie and like a major capital ship, probably between a Perseus and a Polaris. And it's got a modular bay. It has crew quarters. It's a normal ship that doesn't have a lot of guns, but has modules, which is its gimmick. Thank you, Spirit. In Othamon, there's not going to be a size 9 torpedo module. Then it would just be a Perseus. I know, I'm also waiting on the Endeavor and a few others so they can take their time, and I'm in no rush. Yeah, I mean, but that's the important thing to caveat. When people will like buy these ships and be like, when's it coming out? It's like, it may never come out. We don't know. It could take 4 decades before these things come out. We have no idea because CIG is very slow with the larger ships. If this ship was built, you know, any other time, but it's important to keep that in mind. So like before purchasing anything, just be like, hey, this ship's may not be out before you die. Whenever that is. Hey, Vess. CNJ ain't getting any more cap ship money from me until I get a Polaris and Genesis, and I've been waiting for 5 years. Is it always turkey for Thanksgiving? I don't know. To be honest, not coming from America. Turkey is the traditional dish, but that's not the only dish. People will have ham for Thanksgiving instead of turkey. People will have enchiladas and tamales instead of turkey. They'll have barbecue instead of turkey. Turkey is just the traditional because it's a bird that we have here, like a very common, you know, North American bird. So that's what they had in the first Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is just about 3 things: getting the day off of work, eating too much, and then napping while watching the football game. That's what it's about. The last part is a little bit, you know, you can drop the football game if you want to. Yeah, roasted chicken. Yeah, you can do roasted chicken. To give you an idea, there was when I was growing up, there was a fad that was being pushed all over the early internet, which was the turducken. The turducken, which was a chicken stuffed inside a duck, which was stuffed inside a turkey. And that was something that people would have for Thanksgiving. Cool. Love me some turkey, though. Yeah. John Madden specifically. Yeah, specialty. Yeah, I think he popularized it, and a lot of people wanted deep fried turducken, so they would try to like do it and then fry it. Like that's the one thing that happens in America almost every year is people don't thaw out their fucking turkeys and they try to deep fry it. Yeah, houses will burn the fuck down in America because people are too stupid to thaw out their turkeys. But Thanksgiving is one of those few times when I say, if you want to visit America, one of the best times to visit America if you're not an American is Thanksgiving. Most people, or, it wouldn't be difficult to find an American who finds out that you're not an American who will invite you will instantly invite you to Thanksgiving dinner. Because it's just like, you have to experience the overeating, the overeating holiday. But each family has their own traditions. Like Cam and I do deviled eggs, mashed potatoes, turkey, succotash. Sometimes we do mac and cheese casserole. Gravy, obviously. What else? And then for dessert, we have pecan pie and cheesecake. Usually there's not a lot of there usually isn't a 4th of July fireworks style festival. We do have parades though, the Thanksgiving Day parades, but no fireworks. Food come inbound, yeah. I guess, yeah, it depends on where you are as well. Some places might shoot off fireworks, but generally speaking, people don't tend to shoot off fireworks in the winter because it's too fucking cold. Oh, gin and tonic. Per Google, every year, deep fryer fires are responsible for 5 deaths, 60 injuries, and the destruction of 900 homes. Thoughts on yet another concept ship, the RSI Galaxy? As I said before, it looks okay, but don't expect it to come out anytime soon. Because it probably won't come out until at least the Perseus and the Polaris come out. So you're talking post Squadron 42, which is anywhere between 2 and 4 years away. So I have to use my phone's internet and it won't let me on the Switch. Oh, damn. Okay, Tricon, sorry about that. How about you one more time there, Dracon? People wanted it though. I mean, like CIG, listen, people said, hey, I want a civilian version of the Polaris, and so they did that. Yes, the Endeavor is supposed to be modular. But I will say that there's an interesting situation going on right now. Because I had a conversation on Twitter with Brooks about this. And so I decided to look up the stats before, because I was fairly certain that like we just don't have a lot of concept ships left. And the answer is we only have 20 concept ships left. And CIG on average puts out between 6 and 10 ships a year. Of those, usually 5 of them are previously like announced ships, 5 or 6. They didn't even get a large ship out this year. Did they? I'm trying to think of what they got out this year. They got the Corsair, which is a large ship. Yeah, the Corsair. Trying to think of what they're adding with the 318, if there's anything. Only? Well, I mean, CIG, like I said, CIG burns through those pretty quickly. And the other thing is they don't add a lot now. We've had 2 concept ships this year. The Legionnaire and now the Galaxy. And that's it. They used to have one once a month. So CIG, and we know things like the whole C is finished. They're just waiting for functionality to be added. We know that the SRV is being worked on in a stage of completion. We know that the Crucible is being worked on in some stages of planning and the reconcept. So that's 3 of the 20. And then you also have things like the Spirit, which is likely to come in sooner rather than later, maybe a year or 2. Let's see what else is there. The X1 and the Ranger, which are really tiny, which I'm surprised they haven't added yet, because it's probably like a couple months worth of work. That sort of thing. They're just a bunch of like tiny stuff, and then the rest is just the larger stuff. But they haven't really been adding a bunch. The A1, C1, and E1 concept. Yeah, but so if you lump them all together into like one group, it's 20. If you include all of the variants, it's like 25, 26. But, you know, and some of those things are also like the Endeavor, which we know we won't see for after the game is released. They've even said that. So I think a lot of folks are upset about the BMM being shelved. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, hey, Morad. Yeah, 3 spirits, but all 3 spirits should be released at the same time, just like the Hercules stuff was released at the same time. Links is on the roadmap too. Yeah. I'm gonna give another 5 or so minutes. Endeavor is expected at 2952 real life. Yeah. Yeah. That's the other flip side of the thing as well. Is there's no gameplay for the larger ships, so that's why they're not focusing on it. Which makes sense. Like, do you want to have gameplay or do you rather have ships? And personally, I'd rather have gameplay. So there's no point in having a ship like, I don't know, the fucking Reclaimer, which has no functionality for years, and then or the Starfarer, which only got its functionality this year. No hard feelings on anything about how long it takes, just buyer beware always. Yeah, definitely. But I get why people are upset about it, but at the same time, it's like, it's not going to change until y'all either stop buying it, and trust me, I am an individual. I am not a lot of people are like, Paul, you have so many connections, and it's like, they don't fucking listen to me. They don't fucking listen to me at all. They do their own fucking shit, especially when it comes to sales. I've bitched about their marketing multiple times, and they just fucked off. They just do not give a shit. So, and they've ate crow for it too. So they're perfectly willing to shit on themselves with that advice. But you know what? I've heard this shit before. I've heard this shit so many times. Oh, this ship's never gonna come out. We got to stop buying these concept ships so they can actually put the game out. Blah 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 blah. They make fucking record money every year, and they're selling less and less concept ships. So it's like, at this point, it's out of any one person's hands. You're not going to change CIG's mind. The community has to do so, and no, Reddit is not the community. Spectrum is not the community. Those are small sections of the community. I don't think the Galaxy will fill the gap that Carrick fills. No. I think a lot of people's theories on it being a Carrick killer, including myself, is wrong. It's not. It's a civilian Polaris. That's all it is. Milkman, I get that, but I also think I think that we're gonna get there, and the Galaxy is gonna sell out like fucking hotcakes. It's gonna sell out, not sell out, but it's gonna sell like instantly. CIG is going to make fuck tons of money when it comes out. Because I've heard so many people who've been backing the game for a very long time be like, yeah, no, I'm done buying ships until CIG gets X out, and they still make record sales. I got you, Fizzle. So like that's my, like, at this point I don't trust anything but numbers, and we won't know the numbers until after it's been released. Have they broke 110 million for a year yet? I don't think so. We could use store credit, Paul. Yeah, that's true. But my point is that I don't think I think there's much ado about nothing. I think there's a lot of people who are going to scream and whine and yell to the shout to the skies that it's not fair, that CIG is the worst company in the universe, or that that CIG is setting himself for failure, or they're scamming people because they're not the long list of things that people are going to get angry about because of another big ship being sold in concept. But it's still going to make money.
Shempasta just got a sub from Phased Kitten. Phased Kitten gifted a tier 1 sub to Shempasta. They have given 14 gift subs in the channel.
Thank you so much for Phased Kitten for giving that to Shempasta. You're both very important puppers, very impressive pistons. For any pedestrians, y'all rock. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. All right. I'll have to get to him after the stream, after the tour. I'll hop over and try to help him out for a little bit, at least a little bit. There's always people complaining. As long as CIG manages not piss off the entire community, they're fine. And I think at this point it's impossible to. If there's, I'll buy one if there's a tier 1 bed in the medical module. Well, there probably will be based off of the size of the ship, to be honest. But do you think the Odyssey will be better than the Carrack? No, I think it'll be different. But I don't think if you want to go out and explore long range, don't buy the Odyssey, buy the Carrack. If you want to go out and like find places to go investigate, then use the Odyssey. The Odyssey is like, I'm going to go out and find a place to settle down, or find a place to go mining, or find resources, something like that. It's an expedition ship. It's like an icebreaker would be the way I'd like couch it. It's a ship where you go out and you can take away my explore an area extensively, whereas a Carrack is more of a
you can even take away my space lasers,
like a scientific expedition.
but you can never, ever take away
survey
my
ship.
space game.
Nope, wrong one.
Monstratus just resubscribed for 11 months, just pushing buttons.
Thank you so much for that 11 months. You are a very important pupper, very impressive pisser, very bit pedestrian. This is your fault. You're the reason why I'm drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Yes. Here seems like a jump point hunter to me. It's more than just a jump point hunter, because if that was all it would do, it's a very limited ship for a very small goal. It's a survey ship as well. But the way I'm trying to describe this is like the Odyssey would be a place where you go set up an outpost, where you go set up, you're going out to find a place that you're going to come back to extensively explore, and you'll leave the Odyssey there while you're exploring and while other people are returning. It's kind of like a pioneer ship, not the Pioneer, but like a trailblazer, whereas or a pathfinder. Well, no, I guess that's the Carrack. Whereas the Carrack is designed to go in an area, scan everything it can get into, the classic science fiction, Star Trek, like science missions, to go look for things and interesting things and all those sorts of things, but then come back. Like the Odyssey is a forward base. The Carrack is an exploration ship. CIG needs to allow mobile camping gear. I agree. We definitely need mobile camping gear. I think camping, even survival tents that have some pressurized elements to them would be nice. But I'm sure that's a down the road sort of thing. Galaxy won't have the tier 1 bed. That's Apollo. That's for Apollo. I don't know. I think it might have a tier 1 bed. The difference would be that I'm sure that the Galaxy would have 1 tier 1 bed, and the Apollo can hold up to 2 tier 1 beds. What's the best escort ship for an RSI, the RSI Orion? Like a defensive ship? Probably like a Perseus or Polaris, something about that size. Anything bigger than that, you're going to have too much of a crew. There are multiple tier 1 beds for the Endeavor. The Endeavor Hope is huge. It's a hospital. Let's bet. I'm not going to bet on anything. I just think CIG knows that tier 1 beds are important. So there's no way they're going to give their new $600+ ship. They're going to not have it have the module, which is probably going to cost $100 on top of the $600 base, a tier 1 bed. Like, let's be honest here. The base version is going to be $600, and each module is going to be $50 to $100 each. I can guarantee it. So you're looking at spending anywhere between $700 and $800. The C8C camper. It looks like, based on the segments, the bed about 3 tier 3 beds, 2 tier 2, and 1 tier 1 bed. Yeah. Based off of the concept art, it looks like they were definitely going to do at least one kind of surgical looking bed, if you look at the concepts. Let me show you. I'll pull it up real quick before we get started. Here we go. Thank you, Darionator, for getting these images. I think he pulled them from Reddit, probably. Restaurant. Still in my background. Will be for a long time. All right, we go. So, here we have 3, 2, and 1. If this stays the way that they want to do it, then this makes sense. 3 tier 3s, 2 tier 2s, 1 tier 1. Now, this is concept art and things can change, but at least that seems to be what they're shooting at, is this concept. And they may not even tell us what beds are in the module yet, so. Yeah. It's a perfect hospital ship because it can hold the C8R. That's like that cargo bay, or the landing bay is also a C8, like big enough for like a snub. So it's perfect for a hospital ship. Not very space efficient. Yeah, that's the one thing I would say is that problem. But the reason why it's not space efficient is that middle section there. That middle section is actually an elevator. It goes up to the top decks and comes back down. And a partridge in a pear tree. Yeah. Yeah, that's an elevator. So it allows, I think it's on all of the variants that allows you to like go up and down into the component bay, or the module. Oh, the elevator goes down. Right. That's so you can land an ambulance on there, and then run it back up. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember they mentioned an elevator. What do I think the hangar will fit? I think the hangar will fit anything that you can fit into it. It seems at least tall enough to fit most size 1 ships, like most small ships, depending on how you park them. But I think you'll only be able to fit like the Pisces, like side, like with its nose sticking out. You could probably fit like a Scorpius side on, where like you come in, you turn it to the side and sit it in there. But so now we're waiting on the rescue variant of an Ursa, similar to an ambulance, which I've been talking about for months, years now. That's probably a thing they'll do. I think the modules have some bottom opening functionality. I think that's the case, yeah. I know that because that center thing is in all of the modules. Let me pull up the other module images so I can... Boopity boopity. It looks like the refinery module might not have that. But yeah, it doesn't actually look, yeah, I'll pull this up. This is the cargo module version, and you can still see the cutout, but I don't think it's there. I don't think that's there. Versus the refinery module, which is... Can I see there? Sort of not there either. They only mentioned it on the ambulance version, so... We'll be playing Dark Tide later? No. I'm gonna do this, and then we're gonna call it a day. All right. Look at Lucas here, so I'll try to invite that. Yeah, opens up in tractors and ore pods, I think. Okay. That would make sense. I'm not kind of seeing it myself. Where that would be or how it would look. Lucas, there we go. Lost tracks of the ships. Are the A1, C1, and E1 new ships? Yes, they're brand new. The A1, C1, and E1 are all it's the Spirit, which were released during CitizenCon. So here's the dilemma. If you have pledged for a Perseus, what do you do now? Because this looks like a lot like a Perseus, and if you like that shape, it's probably going to be the same price as the Perseus base, and then each module is going to be, as I said, $50 to $100 would be my guess. So you just have a cross chassis upgrade to a Perseus, from a Perseus to a Galaxy. So it's either going to be the same price or slightly more expensive. So CIG can make a tiny bit more money. But I also think that if you like combat, Perseus is for you. If you like non-combat roles, then the Galaxy's for you. So we have a C2 and A2. Where's the E2? In our dreams. Is this ship going to be flight ready? The Galaxy? Hell no. Hell no. It's definitely a concept ship. Oh, fuck no. There's no way that this ship, that the Galaxy is going to be cheaper than $600. That's some hopium right there, my friend. That is some hopium. There's easy 600. CIG knows that people wanted a civilian Polaris, so they made one, so they're going to make you pay Polaris prices for it. No problem, Paul. Yeah, the E2 is the Starliner. That's the Genesis. Yeah. I like the idea of the Perseus, but I don't like ballistics, so I passed. Yeah. All right. Let's get started. I'm going to launch us in 3, 2, 1. Well, I'm going to CCU to 1 no matter what. I don't have a space. I don't have a space pizza in the fleet yet. Okay. Is there going to be a military tax on ships historically? Has there been? There's been a military tax on ships historically. Could this be around the Perseus price? Yeah, you can almost assume that this is going to be around the Perseus price. Because they want you to be able to cross-chassis up from a Perseus to this. And then they also want to sell you the modules. And the modules, like that medical module, if it has a tier 1 bed, $100. The refining module, maybe $75. The cargo module, $50. This expansion makes this expanse obsolete. No, the expanse can hold larger ships. Oh no, the expanse is the refinery ship. No, it's more dedicated and smaller. Hello? Okay, good.
I hear you.
All right, cool. I just want to make sure I'm also transmitting in game, which looks like I am. The cargo module is the base. Didn't they say something like that? I don't remember if they did or not. I watched it once before I went to go eat Thanksgiving dinner. So, what quality it will refine? Yeah, because you also got to remember that quality is going to be an issue in the near future, not just quantity. Yeah, so if the cargo module is the base, then I would expect it like $50 to $100 for the different modules. So at minimum, refinery will be 50, the medical will be 75, but more than likely it'll see something like 50 or 75 for the refinery and 100 for the medical. If it has a tier 1 bed. If it doesn't have a tier 1 bed, then they could be the same price. Do you expect the IAE will start offering modules as separate purchases then once they start implementing modularity properly? Yes, definitely. But it'll also allow you to pick up those modules in-game. That's what places like Cousin Crow's Custom Crafts is for. Are you guys on ES or EU server, Paul? I don't remember. I just hit best, so probably US. They do sell modules already, the Endeavor. Yes, but they stopped selling a lot of those modules for a while. I don't think they've sold the modules for the Endeavor during a sale in a long time. They may sell them during this IAE, but like for instance, the Battlefield upgrade kits for the Bucks or the B-Fucks, as everyone else calls them, for the Vanguard, they stopped selling those. And they've quietly kind of said that they didn't plan on using it, like making that modular as they originally said. But if they're coming with the cargo as a base set, then yeah, $600 is easy. It's Apex. Don't go there. Not this one, the next one. If the leaks are right, the cargo holds quite a bit of cargo. I wouldn't be surprised. The thing is going to be damn near capital ship sized. Alrighty, meet by the center. I don't think we have. Do we have anybody? We have a couple people. We got Mason's going to be a bit. But.
Yeah, you're still waiting on me. I'm just getting over there.
I'll be right there.
All right, coming up the center is a big C2 in the middle, hopefully.
They announced 500 or something. When did they announce 500 or something, Rezier? Do you have a link? Oh, you're talking about for the cargo. It's 500 something. 500 plus cargo. Okay, yeah. So where do you find pictures of the Lynx rover, Paul? They don't exist. They haven't started it. Yeah, I got you, Max. All right. Run one more ad while we're waiting here. Yes, Tumbril Day. Ranger Riders Unite. I am a big fan of the Rangers. So I'm definitely looking forward to that, of course. Hey, Ed Vask, thank you so much for giving that E2 Genesis. As soon as that didn't show up on my list. I was having trouble determining its size versus a Carrack. Well, I mean, you put the Connie next to it, and it's about twice the length of a Connie, twice the size of a Connie. So, about probably slightly smaller than the Carrack, be my guess. You got the MT today? Nice. Okay, we'll wait for you here, Cuban.
Oh, that's not good. I just fell through the elevator into the subway station.
Oh no.
Into the abyss.
Now I'm probably going to be in Tressler.
I'm looking forward to the Ranger. I don't care what anyone says about how it's a ripoff or anything like that. It's a space motorcycle. Give me my Akira motorcycle. Oh, but it's not worth $25. Not a lot of things are worth $25, but if I have it, I'm going to buy it. There's no way in hell that this is worth any of the kind of money I put into it with paints and diorama sets and magnets and everything else. But you better damn well be sure that I enjoyed doing when I did this. Maybe we have a new Karen ship, Paul? I don't think so. Because the Carrack still comes with all of the aspects of the ship. Like, you don't have to pay extra for a respawn bed on the Carrack. That's a hobby for you. It is. But that's the same concept as like same concept as Star Citizen, you know? $25 for a ship to drive around, or for like a vehicle to drive around in game isn't, you know, too much of a crazy price. Especially in an MMO. Yep. We're doing a tour there, astronaut. You can come join us. Just over there. Right over there. Don't just stand there. Don't just stand there. Just go over there. We're waiting a few more people to show up, so before we start the tour. Drycon's having some strokes. The Ranger is cheaper than some WoW mounts and more useful too. Yes. Yes, it is. Hey, Max. We're doing a tour if you want to join us. It's just going to be a bit.
Let's head, Paul. If you want, you can start. I'll catch up.
Yeah, I'll wait for a little bit longer. Give another 2 or 3 minutes. This one's a pretty short tour, so. Why are there no mid-tier Warbond CCUs? Because CIG doesn't want you to use mid-tier? I don't know. Good to see that they have cranes in the cargo module, though. For the Galaxy? Yeah, makes sense. Have a tractor beam crane. Because they want you to pay full price for ships, Shimpasta. That's why they don't want you to play the CCU game for that. The reason why they're nerfing the CCU game is hopefully they're moving towards cleaning up the website to make it less garbage. Because one of the major reasons why the website is so garbage is that it's so difficult to stack on all of these legacy things like CCUs, game packages versus standalone ships. They've even said that they've wanted to move to just standalone packages, to just packages for a very long time. So, like towards the actual release. Your logic is impeccable. That CIG wants more money? Yes, they want more money. They want your money, and they want more of it. It's only 2 decks. That's true, but the Hercules is only 2 decks too, and it's pretty big. So I'd expect something around the size of a Hercules. Somewhere between like a Carrack and a Hercules. Because the pads it's on looks like the large pads. The same kind of pads you'd see like a hammerhead land on. Yeah, Dracon's only 19 kilometers away, so we got plenty of time.
I'm up at Tressler, so I gotta fly down.
You got time. We're doing this tour here later, y'all, so feel free to join us. Walk you through the floor and let you know about all of the wonderful ships that Crusader and all the vehicles that Tumbril have brought here to the floor. Seems fairly close to Carrack size, but my release, but by release, who knows? Yeah, that's the question. They seem to be a little bit better at kind of judging these sizes out than they used to be. But just like the Perseus, I think this is a little bit deceptive in terms of its size. We'll know on Saturday though when they sell it. They'll tell us the dimensions. I don't think we'll ever see a Tumbril ship. I'd love to see more Tumbril vehicles though. It would make sense for Tumbril to have made a bunch of different vehicles, which we know there's some references to out there. The C series ships or vehicles and other things like that.
Tumbler fire truck.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me at least. Like a medical, like an ambulance or a fire truck. Both would make sense. Let's see, what other kind of things? They kind of have an off-road vehicle.
Tow truck.
Yeah, a tow truck, a repair truck. Let's see, refueling truck. A truck. like an 18-wheeler, you know? Tumbril seafaring vessels? Yeah, could you see that too? Maybe a rearming truck, something that's designed to like little tractor beams to like pull up like heavy munitions and reinstall them on like fighters and such. The Tumbler, Tumbril Tumbler, mobile bar truck. Yeah. I mean, if there's one company that would build an APC or a light tank or an artillery, like a mobile artillery, it would be Tumbril. That's their bread and butter. Tour time soon. We're waiting for DryCon will be here shortly, and then we'll get going. I just want to pick up.
I'm in the tram right now.
Okay. Hey, there's your food truck, Tumbril Tumbler. Love the sound of it. Yeah, it would never be named like that though, because CIG, because that's a terrible name. No ping in Discord.
The spaceport, so
I gotta do those manually these days. So I'll do it real quick. I got so used to the automated one that I forgot to do the.
I got up and stop.
That's all right. So that's some time. Tumble RV. Yeah, it's another good example. Comm service truck. Yeah, something like a communications truck. Yeah, an MRAP. Long-range expedition rover with bed amenities. I've always thought of an idea of like a crawler, like something the size of like a Connie, but with tracks. It moves very slow, but it has like scientific equipment on board. It has beds. It has like a kitchen, and you just slowly move across, and you kind of has like a mobile base.
The Tumble Taco Truck.
The taco truck, yes. Yeah, the Jawa sand crawl. Yeah, but like lower to the ground, not like a mammoth. Yeah, like a Halo mammoth. Something the size that would be that would stick around in an area for a very long time. The problem about that is that you'd have to find a way of transporting it, which would be impossible. All right.
Take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
You can
Never. Ever.
take away my space game.
Anti-Domitech just resubscribed for 67 months. Kit II.
Thank you so much there, Angie, for that. 67 months. You are a very important pupper, very impressive pisser, very pedestrian. This is your fault. You're the reason why I drink at night. Shuss and cheers and chat, y'all. Shuss and cheers. All right, let's do that. We're almost ready to go. Mason's here. We're waiting for...
I'm on the tram right now.
I thought we had DryCon was going to be here. DryCon's almost there, yeah.
Yep.
I just noticed there's a typo in your bouncer bot.
For what? Oh, for the giveaway?
It says you have to type beers, but it doesn't say type, it says Tayo.
Oh, Tayo.
I just noticed that.
I gotta turn off that because we're not actually doing a giveaway. So turn off the announcement. I forgot to turn off that. We did that yesterday. We're just leaving up the command up for a while. There you go. Hey, Second Impact, how you doing? Thanks again for supporting the pub with your membership. I'm waiting for the RSI day before I decide whether or not to take a chance on the Crucible. Crucible is Anvil, I believe. But yeah. Why is that, Minstrel? Or Mistral. Mistral. Yeah, no, I muted myself. I muted my mic until we get started. That way I'm not spamming the whole fucking floor with me talking to chat. Hey, Stosky. Yeah, I'll activate my VoIP when we start walking around, so that way people know what we're doing. For a purchase that RSI puts on sale that may suit my playstyle more. You mean talking about the Galaxy maybe? Hey, Outlaw, it's okay. Doing good. There's Drycon, and here is Qpan. All right, so let me mute all of the alerts. Boom, boom. And the sound effects. There we go. All right, I'm going to start the recording in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the floor of IAE 2952. This is Crusader and Tumbril Day. I'm live here with these wonderful folks. In fact, to clean this up a little bit, do a quick little leaving the party. Boom. And there we go. Nice and clean. These wonderful folks have joined me live here. It is Thanksgiving here in the United States, so it might be a little bit less numbers of people, but we're here to learn a little bit about Crusader and Tumbril. So before we get started, let's give a little bit of a backstory. Let's start with Crusader, since that's most of the ships up here. For Crusader was actually founded in 2799, and it was founded out of a company called Seraphim Systems. Now, Seraphim Systems was an existing shuttle manufacturer that had existed for quite a while. The reason why it kind of became Crusader Industries is because of a man by the name of Auguste Dunlop. Dunlop was an orphan and a rebel who helped overthrow the Mezzers and tried to enact a lot of change that he thought would be a good idea while he was after he helped overthrow the Mezzers. But he realized that you needed money to do a lot of those things, and he didn't have any money. So he used his degree in business to find a struggling manufacturer that he thought he could turn around, Seraphim Systems, and used his own wit and charm to manage to get a hold of the company with some investment money. He turned Seraphim Systems into Crusader Industries through government contracts with things like the Hercules, and also a very extensive range of starliners, which we'll talk about when we talk about the Genesis. Hey, welcome. Go ahead and join us with the tour. We're looking around the floor here. So, in 2850-ish, we have the new CEO of Crusader, Kelly Kaplan, who's the current CEO. She was actually the head designer on the Genesis, which we'll talk about in a moment. That was, she took over and managed to negotiate the sale or the purchase of Crusader 2, what we know today is, Stanton 2, which we know today as Crusader, which is the gas giant here in the Stanton system, where they would set up their headquarters. But the secret to Crusader is it's constantly been trying to innovate and change, mostly focused on transport, that they have dipped into a little bit of combat here and there. The main thing that Dunlow wanted to do was he wanted to make sure that the money he earned was not just for his own personal use, but to make the changes that he wanted to see. So it's something like 85 to 90% of all of the profits that Crusader Industries makes goes directly to charity. So they're the most giving organization in the verse right now. With that being said, let's go look at some of these ships. Start with the M2 here, the very first, I should say the oldest currently, that we have in the verse Crusader ship. So the M2, his full name is the Crusader Hercules Starlifter M2, or Military 2. The purpose of the M2 is for military transport. This was designed during a time period when the UAE needed to improve its logistics train, to improve some aspects. The one thing that they calculated from the First and Second Tavarn Wars, they'd done a major study at the end of the Mezer era that determined that the thing that they lacked, the thing that they really needed to do to improve survivability of any kind of ground-type invasions, was the ability to drop heavy armor directly onto the front lines. Now, they tried to, in the past, they would do it with either like one-use big heavy modules that would essentially be fired down at the ground and when land and then just be gone. Very expensive, very time-consuming process. Or smaller troop transports, and then they would secure an area and wait for the heavier ships to come down. Mostly just civilian modified ships. That wasn't working. That didn't work well. So they formed a group called Starlift Command, which is an interdepartmental group. It's made up of the military, made of Army, Navy, and Marine Corps folks whose sole job is to maintain vehicles to be on Ready 5 status to go anywhere in the verse at a moment's notice. But they needed a ship to be able to do the things they needed to. So they turned to the market, and they two people entered. The Aegis Dynamics entered, and so did Crusader, which at the time had only really made the Jupiter transport and the Saturn Starliner. So they weren't really known for military contracts. But what they submitted was eventually the Hercules M2, this bespoke, specifically built for the military cargo ship that the military loved. This ship can take a ton of fire. And the thing that you have to learn about Crusader is that Crusader is built off of two things. They're rugged and easy to work on. That's it. They're not very fuel efficient, they're not very fast, they're not very nimble, they usually don't carry a ton of firepower, but they are tough and they are easy to repair. So many pilots love them for that, and it's a pretty beloved transport in the military. Now in 2940, the M2 was put on sale for the public for the first time. But Crusader didn't just release the M2. They had developed a system called the Roll and Go system, which allowed them to build variants of ships on the same assembly lines as ships that are that's the kind of the baselines. So they introduced two new variants of the Hercules, the A2 and the C2. Let's go look at the A2. So this is the A2. This is the a drop ship. It was built with military and with civilian use in mind. But it is designed as a, if you don't have a drop ship, this is a cargo ship and drop ship combination. It has additional guns that can point down for downward firepower. And it has, if we go up on top here, I'll show you, 2 bomb deployment systems that take up a little bit more of the cargo. These 2 hold several bombs that they can drop. I think it's 4 each, or 2 each, total of 4, which allow for an absolute devastating amount of downward firepower if need be. But other than that, it is the same as an M2. You can think of this as an M2 with bombs on it and more guns. So it reduces the amount of cargo space. So typically, I think you can hold up to 3 vehicles in most M2s. So this can only really hold up to 2, and it's only one way in and out. But it is a very devastating tool in the tool belt. From the A2, let's move over to the C2. So this is the C2. It is a stripped down version of the M2. They removed a lot of the armor from the C2. From the M2. And they removed the crew compartments. So I believe the M2 has some storage bay, so you can keep the crew of the vehicles you're supposed to carry with you. They've removed that entirely in this version. So it's a little bit lighter, a little bit less tanky, but it has a lot of cargo space. And it's a little cheaper as a result. So it's kind of a stripped down, cheaper version of a heavy cargo transport. And it can also carry vehicles. Now from this, let's talk a little bit about Tumbril before we move on to the rest of Crusader. Come with me, let's walk. So, here's the deal with Tumbril. Tumbril was founded in 2535, I believe. Let me look at my notes real quickly. (2536) on Saisei. It was founded by a husband and wife team who grew up on Yar. They, the wife was, her parents were caretakers to the University of Saisei research facility on Yar. And the husband's mother was a researcher from the University of Saisei who came down to do research on plants that might be a little bit more, might be more resistant to Yar. Yar is a very, very dangerous planet. It is a massive desert that has these, I think, red sands, which get everywhere. And they kick up these massive dust storms. It's a very inhospitable place to live. But while there, the husband, Aaron, was... trying to find the right names for this, because I can't remember the name of the wife. But the husband, Aaron's mother, didn't come back after going out to go research her plants. And when the sandstorm was coming in, his future wife and his future father-in-law went out to go looking for her in what was known as the what was it called? It was called the Crossfire Land Cruiser. And this is an old vehicle that they didn't make at the time. It was just effectively an all-terrain vehicle that they had modified to function on Yar's surface. Without that land cruiser, his mother would have died. So this kind of brought the two, at the time, teenagers close together. They began to start dating. They began to work together to tinker with the land cruiser to kind of keep up to date. They both went off to college. After college, they got married. He got into business. She got into engineering. They had pretty decent jobs. I believe he worked for some engineering or some business firm. She worked for some engineering firm on Saisei. All was good, but they were bored. They were unfulfilled. And when her parents were passing away, they went back to Yar to kind of take care of their stuff, and they ran into the Crossfire again. And it was there that they decided that they were going to risk it all and try to do something together as a couple. And they founded Tumbril Land Systems, named after a cart that they had to take away. It's a kind of an old two-wheel trailer that they took apart to build their first vehicle, which was known as the DX-20. Now, we know the DX-20 today as the Cyclone. It was fun, tough, and rugged. Great little buggy, but nobody wanted cars in the age of spaceships. So it didn't do so well. But then the First Tavaran War broke out. And when the First Tavaran War broke out, the army realizes they needed a ground transport vehicle that could meet their needs. And they found out that the best option was the DX-20. That would lead to many years of the military using Tumbril Land Systems vehicles, including this here, the Tumbril Nova. Now, this is the hero of the Second Tavaran War, built in 2604. This vehicle was built to replace the Cyclone as the main frontline ground vehicle for the army. It had better armor, big gun, and was more survivable in general. Now, it's most famous for the Battle of Korin Pass, where 3 of these Novas held off an entire massive 1,000-plus Tavaran strike team that had been hidden in the mountains, and they were able to hold them off for 16 hours before relief arrived to push back to the Tavaran. So that's where the Nova made its name. Now, unfortunately, the Tumbril itself as a company, fell out of favor with the Mezers towards the end of the Mezer era and actually closed its doors in 2860s. So it was actually no longer a company. They stopped making Tumbril vehicles until 2941, when a entrepreneur by the name of what's his name? Terrence Naban, who was a big Tumbril fan, realized that the rights were up to sale for it, so he purchased the rights and began to bring back the old Tumbril vehicles, starting with the Cyclone. So, thanks to Terrence Naban, we start to see some of these back. This itself, the Nova, was built was reintroduced in 2551, specifically for the military, updated, modernized to help fight the Vandal Wars, and has been sold to the public ever since. Let's go and take a look at the Tumbril a little bit, the Nova a little bit. So this gun here is a bespoke size 5. It is built by Hurston Dynamics. It is a specialized size 5 cannon that cannot be used on any other vehicle. It's built for the Nova specifically. The back here is called a energy. This little thing is called an energy missile launcher. It's designed to launch, to be able to launch energy rather than missiles, though I don't think it functions currently in game. It's just a missile launcher. There's also 2 size 3 weapon mounts that the commander can use at the top. And on the inside, there's enough space for 3 command seats, control seats, and their equipment. So it's a pretty neat little vehicle. Now, I've also heard a lot of people complain about that this is a very big tank for being a tank, but you also got to remember that the reason why it's so big is because it's designed to fit with Star Citizen specifications. So it needs to be able to walk around inside of it. You can't really crouch and move around like you can in other tanks. So it's a little bit bigger because of that, mostly because of gameplay reasons. But it's heavily based off of modern, I believe, a modern Finnish tank. I believe is what it's heavily based off of. But from the Nova, let's go talk a little bit more about the rest of the Crusaders lineup, which I believe is over here, this way. Interesting thought. Yeah, the idea. Hey, thank you, Second Impact. Yeah, those tanks are a lot bigger. They took a lot of inspiration from like front-sloping modern tanks, which is a lot of like APCs and tanks, which kind of have that big front slope with a turret on top.
Oh, bit of a lag issue moment.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a little bit of a desync error.
Yeah, big desync on the server.
All right.
Probably me. I'm using my phone as an internet connection right now.
All right. So here we go. Fault. It's all your fault. Every you heard that at home, folks. It's all Drycon's fault for all of your connection issues. Blame Drycon.
Yep.
I want to see that in the comments. Hashtag blame Drycon. All right, so this is the rest of the offering from Crusader. Let's start over here with the Crusader Mercury Star Runner. Now, the Crusader's Mercury Star Runner, we don't really have a date for it when it was built, but we do know it was probably built in the later half. This was probably built during the time period when Crusader was here in Stanton. So the Mercury Star Runner specifically is a data runner and light freighter. It was purposely built as a data runner and light freighter because there isn't a lot of light freighters and or data runners that remain because of the great cargo crisis of the 29th century. At the end of the Mezer era, there was a lot of the companies that made things like data runners and cargo ships were heavily tied to the Mezers. So when the Mezers went down, they also went down. So there wasn't enough companies making ships and ship parts to keep ships running. So many new companies rose out of the ashes, like Crusader, to take advantage of this. So the Crusader, the way that Crusader built and designed and tested and marketed this ship is a little unique. Because it's supposed to be a blockade runner, they wanted to show off how tough and fast it was. So they entered it into a competition known as the Able Baker Challenge. Now, the system of Baker got 2 suns. It's a twin binary star system, and it's absolutely hell on Earth. None of the planets are very habitable. They all have various degrees of bad. One of the planets has acid rain that can chew through starship hulls very quickly. One of them is entirely frozen with massive spikes of ice that stick out of it. It's very difficult to navigate. And one of them is so close to the star that no ship can handle it for very long. So the thing about the Able Baker Challenge is that it changes. Every year it becomes a different route. Sometimes you have to go through the acid clouds. Sometimes you have to thread the needle between the two stars. It's never the same every year. It's an underground race. It's not a legal race, but it's done as a kind of an endurance race. The Star Runner was entered not once, but twice and finished both times. Didn't win, but you don't really win the Able Baker Challenge. If you complete it, you win, you've won. And it's, as far as we know, is the only ship to have completed the Able Baker Challenge twice. No other ship that we have in record has been able to do so. So that was its big marketing kind of push for the military and for the civilian markets. But it is also an Inforunner, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But let's come back here and we'll show you why this ship is kind of unique in its own role. So inside we have a cargo right here. So this area can hold a small rover if need be. And there are these side passages. These are mostly for engineering purposes, but if you see here, there is a secret hatch which goes into these underground areas. Now this area is needed for the large data kind of bases above this. This is kind of like a cooling area for that and, runs pipes and such. But because of all of the electromagnetic interference that occur because of those systems, this is actually shielded from many sensors. So it has the advantage... Oh, you locked me in. You have the advantage of having a kind of a smuggling hold if you need be. Now, you can also climb out. There's many different places you can climb in and out of in this place. There's also a dedicated scanning place, as we can see here. These are the server racks, which can hold data. Now, it's important to remember that with the data running, I'm going to hop down. Oh. There we go. With data running, why data running is important is because data running is valuable for the Empire. There is no faster-than-light communications in Star Citizen. Every information has to go through relays that have to go through jump points. So there is a lag time in information. You can usually use probes in the relay stations that exist in any system as a means of getting communications out, but it's always faster and safer to hire a courier to carry that information out, which is what ships like the Crusader Mercury Star Runner is designed to do. So this ship is, plus has a little bit of extra bonuses to it. This ship is very valuable for the UE military and civilian population at large. So let's head out. Let's look at the Ares Starfighter. This out. So someone's deployed the satellite dish you can kind of see out here. That's what the scanning ship is designed to do. It actually has a transmit and receive function as well as part of that big scanning, that big thing. Now, probably one of the more controversial ships in the verse, the Ares Starfighter. This was built fairly recently in, I believe, 2950. The Ares Starfighter is a joint work between Bering and Crusader. We call it a ship, but it's more like a flying gun. The one main cannon it has on it is the SF-7 Bering. So this is a version of a size 7, which is designed specifically for the Ares as a anti-capital, anti-large ship sort of weapon. Now, CIG did kind of turn this down, so it's not as effective as it used to be, and so a lot of people are kind of upset about it. But there are two versions of it, the Ion, and over here we have the Ballistic Inferno. Both of which are the first real true combat ships that Crusader has built here for on the floor. Now, from that, let's go look at more of the Tumbril ships and the ships that are more Tumbril land vehicles, and more of the ships that are to come in the verse pretty soon. Come with me. Able Baker's one to drop a civ base. It's Able. I'm sorry, it's Baker. The name of the system is Baker. It's called the Able Baker because I think there's the two names of the stars, Able and Baker. But it's called the Baker system. Well, the difference is that the Ares was actually built and in-game and functioning the way that people wanted it to, but it was too good. All right. Let's start over a little bit further back, because these are all the kind of military stuff. Let's look at the Cyclone. Tell you a little bit about the history of the Cyclone. All right, so here we go. The very first vehicle that Tumbril ever built, the pioneer of all of Tumbril ships, Tumbril vehicles, the Cyclone. Now, this is the DX-20, aka the Cyclone. The Cyclone is actually its military acronym, or its military name. The original version was called the DX-20, but when it was adopted by the UPE military in the First Tavaran War, they gave it the name Cyclone, which stuck because of its service in the First Tavaran War as a whole. Now, the reason why the Cyclone is so famous and so well loved is because during the First Tavaran War, probably most famously during the Battle of Argonne Ridge, the first Battle of Argonne Ridge, several Cyclones were basically what all stood between a small force of infantry and an entire division of Tavaran tanks. The commander, Colonel, I believe, AJ, pull up my stuff. His name is AJ something. AJ, like, not Kruger, but something like that. The commander was Colonel Crate, AJ Crate, who took his under-equipped, under-trained men and had them hold the ridge overlooking the Tavaran, approaching Tavaran. He goaded the Tavaran into coming in close and used several of these Cyclones, which were converted to have rockets in the back, as miniature artillery pieces. And others which had anti-tank weapons attached to them, simply drove point blank into these tanks and used their better maneuverability to get around them before their turrets could come to bear, and engage them in almost hand-to-hand combat with the tanks. This tactic worked so well that not only were the Tavaran defeated, but the UPE army, the Colonel Crate managed to capture several Tavaran tanks, which were then brought back to the UAE to be studied for weaknesses. This whole thing, on top of that, was recorded by embedded reporters with the military, who then broadcasted this back as a huge propaganda coup for the UPE military, which wasn't doing so well at the time. It also had established the kind of myth of the Cyclone, this rugged, really fun to drive, scrappy little freedom fighter, as it were. So that is effectively what we see here. This is almost the exact same. This is almost the exact same vehicle as what the DX-20 was. This is updated in 2944, I believe, is when this was fully updated. There are still Cyclones that serve in the military. They're exactly like this, only the military Cyclones have a little bit more armor and they have some better control surfaces than this current one. But other than that, it's pretty the same. The typical Cyclone has a driver and a passenger, and this back area is actually a cargo crate. It can hold up one SCU of cargo. So now, alongside the Cyclone, there were other Cyclone versions released the same year. These are all modifications of the Cyclone, which are new. These are brand new Cyclone versions that had never existed before. This is the RC. Now, on Frontier Worlds, and of course here in Stanton, there is a popular pastime of racing vehicles, ground vehicles. It's not a very popular thing outside of Frontier Worlds and more rural areas. Things like the Daymar Rally tend to not happen. They're kind of an outlier here in Stanton compared to everywhere else. But in places like Pyro, you see these quite frequently. And because of that, Tumbril wanted to try to bring some of that frontier excitement to civilized space, so they developed the RC, a racing Cyclone, which is still used by racers all over the verse. Now this is the Tumbril RN. This is your prospector, your salvager, your explorer variant of the the Cyclone. This has a upgraded scanning suite and has a way you can deploy probes. So as you drive, you can kind of shoot down probes or beacons into the ground. So if you are, say, establishing a new colony with your Pioneer, well, to use those land beacons, those land claim beacons, you load this baby up with your beacons, then it will deploy those beacons directly into the ground so you can know exactly where to go. You can go quickly and fast, and you can have good scanning range to know where you are. That's the purpose of this one. From here, let's go over to the more military versions of this, or the militarized versions of them. Here we go. We've got the, let's start with this one. This is probably the most interesting one, the AA, the anti-aircraft version. The Cyclone AA is actually a nod to those UPE Army soldiers operating the rockets on the back of, during the Battle of Argonne Ridge. This is kind of an homage to that. This is sort of what they would look like. However, those rockets were designed for air-to-ground, or for ground-to-ground combat. These are air-to-air, but they can also target ground targets as well. The AA is also equipped with a small EMP device so that if small, low-flying ships are trying to strafe you can take them out of the sky pretty quickly. From there, we've got the TR version. Now, this is, again, a light infantry support vehicle, which has replaces the back area for a turret, which has a 360-degree horizontal range of movement, and it can support any size 1 gun. You can swap that. I don't believe in the game right now it can, but it's planned to be able to swap out the gun for any other kind of gun you want to. Now, then we have the MT. Now, this is basically it's the TR, only they've added missiles to it. So the purpose of the missiles is to turn the Cyclone into more of an anti-tank vehicle. You can think of these three as versions of the Cyclone as used by AJ Crate and his men during the Battle of Argonne Ridge. That's what they're kind of designed around. Now, from all of the vehicles that are already in the verse to the ones that are going to be coming into the verse soon, let's go look at some of the future of these manufacturers. All right. This is the Ranger. We don't have a lot of information on the Ranger. We don't know how old it is, but we do know that the Ranger is a motorcycle. These are the only motorcycles, ground wheel-based motorcycles that exist in the Star Citizen universe. There are 3 current versions in development. There is the CV, there is the CV, I believe the TC or something like that.
CV.
I'm looking at my it's like CV, RC, and TR. So the CV is a courier version. You can carry a little bit of cargo in the back. The RC is the racing version, which is more streamlined, a little bit faster. And then the TR, which is this one, is the combat version, which swaps out most of that flexibility for firepower for some heavy guns onto it. These are size 1s still, but twin size 1s. That's what's on offer for Tumbril. Let's look at what Crusader's got it coming for us. This is the latest one. We don't know how old this is, but this is the C series. Not C series, the 1 series, I guess you could say. The Spirit. The Spirit has 3 different versions which will be coming out for it, which are the C1, the A1, and the E1. This is a medium to large ship designed to compete around the same level as the Freelancer Cutlass sort of range. The C1 is a small cargo ship, which has, I believe, something like 41 SCU of cargo. 48 SCU of cargo. Then there is the A1, which is a bomber variant, which has 2 5 bomb capacity bomb bays, size 5 bomb bays. And then there's the E1, which is a luxury personal transport, which has up to 6 different cabins for passengers to enjoy. You can think of this as kind of a miniature version of the Hercules. From there, let's go over to the very last one, the Genesis Starliner. Now, there's a little bit of history with the Genesis we have to understand. This was developed by Kelly Kaplan. She is the current CEO of Crusader Industries. And she developed this as a replacement for the old Saturn line. And the reason why this is important is because it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit more efficient, but the key to the Genesis is modularity. Now, most places like Meridian Transit, which shuttle people from point to point in the verse, they have a lot of logistical issues because they have often smaller vehicles and larger vehicles, various different types of vehicles that they want to run to cater to as many needs as possible for their clientele. Well, Crusader and Kelly Kaplan realized that if they could make a transport that could serve multiple different roles and be easily configurable, then those companies would only have to buy their product, and they would have replacement parts on the ready, and it would be very easy for them to build. So, but the problem was that building customized versions of a ship is very expensive. That's where Kelly Kaplan came in. She developed the roll and go method for development, which allowed for the assembly lines to build the exact same, to build customized versions of every Genesis. So the Genesis is highly configurable based off of a couple of different modules that you can choose from. So you can buy the base version, which is just a transport, but you can also buy versions that can be configured for military use, converted for mail or freight use. You can buy versions that are converted for a luxury use, for, swap out the number of seats for kind of more dining halls and more luxurious locations. There's even a Genesis that is owned and operated by the Imperator themselves, called Imperator 1, which is custom built using the same techniques for the needs of the Imperator themselves. So that is really what made the Genesis so popular. Many of these transports companies wanted to purchase it because it would make their own logistics trains much cheaper, much easier to maintain. So the Genesis became everywhere. It became ubiquitous with travel. For some time in the late 29th century, people would use the term going on crusade as a euphemism for going on a vacation because of just how often you would see Genesis Starliners everywhere. To this day, they're still very popular and they're still very well loved. This itself in game is likely not going to be what it looks like. It's going to be undergoing a reconcept soon, so it probably won't look exactly like this, much more like the current Spirit model or the Hercules. But this is the kind of the main ship from Crusader that most people would recognize in the verse. You'll see a ton of these once they add things like people transportation moving around. So that is it for the ships here at the floor of IAE 2952. Yeah, that's what we got. Thank you all who are watching this after the fact. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this, hit that follow button here on Twitch. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already done so, because there you can come join us live at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow or Saturday while we wrap up IAE. You can join these folks right here. Get your own personal tour. And remember, if you enjoy this, hit the subscribe button. If you want a more in-depth, kind of more historical look at a lot of these different things, more of the history behind it, a little bit more cleaner, a little bit more succinct, then you can always check out, I do these videos on the Astro Historian as well. This one just went live at the time of this recording. So you can check that as well. Make sure and if you like the lore aspects, go ahead and subscribe there. I want to know your thoughts on these Crusader and Tumbril vehicles in the comments below. And like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black. All right. Outside anymore. Thank you for coming and watching their Second Impact. Thank you all for joining us here on in game. How many peoples do we need to move in the verse? I mean, you also got to remember NPCs are going to need to move around a lot as well. There's a similarity between the Genesis and the BMM. No, I think it is current design, but I don't think it's eventually going to. What do they have tomorrow? MISC is tomorrow, and then Saturday is RSI. I still like the Cyclone over the Steve. I like it for sentimental reasons. It's the first ground vehicle we got other than the PTV, and it's got some decent lore. The rest of the stuff really doesn't. Thank you for your time. Catch you tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Thor. Someone is asking about the Galaxy. The Galaxy is exactly what people wanted. People have been asking for the Galaxy, something like the Galaxy forever. They wanted a civilian version of the Polaris. I've heard that so many times. Give me the Polaris, but make it civilian and not military, and I'll buy it. And that's what they did. Finishing your Odyssey chain tomorrow? All right. All right. The belly crawl. Lisa, you caught this one, yeah. So tomorrow we're going to be doing a little bit more of an extended one. We're going to be doing a little bit of extended tomorrow and Sunday. Because Twitch was like, hey, we're going to give you a bonus if you stream this many hours. And I'll be just under it if I do my normal hours. So I'm just going to stream a little bit longer on Friday because I can. And we'll be streaming a little bit longer on Sunday. So tomorrow we'll be doing MISC Day. And then we'll be going on to do the Dark Tide. So if you want to join us for Dark Tide, we'll be giving away a copy of the game on Friday as well. Then Saturday, we'll be doing the RSI tour. Then we'll be doing Captain's Table. And then on Sunday, we'll be doing another expedition with the lore crew. So I got to make that announcement with the lore team. We'll be doing another expedition where we'll be doing a lore, kind of a relic expedition. So you can kind of come join us while as we hunt for relics in the verse. As well as doing a floor tour for... no, there's no floor tours on Sunday. Sunday is the best in the show. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube... There will be we will have another office hours starting next week. We'll return next week, not today, because it's Thanksgiving. We'll be doing office hours next week, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. And then, let's see what else. If you watch the lore stuff, I'm going to make a compilation of all of the floor tours that I did on the Astro Historian. So all of the lore tours will be compiled into one long video, which I'll put at the end. So that should be like, my guess is a little bit over an hour. So for those of you who I know like what going to sleep with it or everything, but it'll be done out there for everybody else. So we put the AR in archaeology. Well, will ships be available to buy on the last day? I believe all ships will be available to purchase on the last day. I don't know if they'll do the limited runs, but almost all the other ships. You should still be able to purchase most of the other ships that are not, unless they're limited. And you should be able to rent all of the ships up until the 30th. So if you really want to like stretch it out, you can rent ships on the 30th for 48 hours, which means you'll have it until the 2nd. So Galaxy looks about Carrack size. Wouldn't be surprised if it's slightly smaller than the Carrack. Maybe more in line with like the Hercules. What's the signature drink of the AstroPub? I haven't decided. I have to wait until CIG comes in. Right now, it's just beer. Until they give you the ability to. If divine weapons cannot even hit cyclone speed targets, how the hell are they supposed to hit spaceships that are 10 times faster? No wonder they lost their wars. I think it's more designed that, like, with all tanks, it's difficult to traverse and fire with your turrets, depending on while also being safe. But that's the first mention that I saw of any kind of Tavaran tank, which up to this point we'd always thought that up to this point I'd always thought that the Prowler was used as a tank, but no, they actually have a tank which existed in the second Tavaran War, first Tavaran War we didn't know about, which means there's probably Tavaran tanks on Cabal, which means we may see Tavaran tanks as created by Asperia. So who knows? I'm thankful for you, Paul, and hope your loved ones are going to die. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving here, so I will say this: we're probably not gonna. I'm not gonna log off quite yet. We're gonna watch the latest ISC before we log off. But I will say, I'm thankful for all Leo. It's Thanksgiving, so thanks for all y'all for watching. I really do. I would not be able to do this without y'all's help. This has been a weird, humbling experience over the last several years. Because I just started doing streaming for fun, and I got into lore stuff, and I just started pushing it more and more, and now people actually listen to me and watch shows, and CIG sometimes actually listens and does stuff. And other companies reach out to me. I've had several sponsorship offers, which I have to talk about. There's several for the Astro Historian. I got one that's for here for live, so that are finally coming in. So it's nice. It's nice to have a lot of these things coming in, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you people watching. So thank you for coming and watching. Thank you for subscribing and following and all that sort of thing. What sort of Tavaran ships are in lore? What future Tavaran ships do we think we'll see? Hoping for some more interiors, because I like the Prowler. I'd be looking forward to the Vulture. I think it's the Vulture. Jackal, the Tavaran Jackal. The Jackal is a two-seater... Jackal! It's a Jackal! Sorry. It's a two-seater fighter. It's effectively a inverse of what the Hurricane is. Instead of having the secondary gunner be a gunner, in the Jackal, it's a shield operator. So they actually physically move the shield facings to wherever you need to go to help protect it. Thank you for joining. I'm going to kind of get off the game. We're going to watch ISC together. So y'all can talk a little bit about it, and then we'll move on. Let's go to... All right. Let's pull this up and watch it together so if you haven't already seen it yet.
Multi-role ships in the persistent universe, by their very nature of the name, give you that flexibility.
They're intended to let you experience almost every part of the game. You can change between deciding to go off to a random planet and do some cargo missions, to changing your mind and decide to do bounty hunting and bringing a bounty back and put them in your hold.
So now, as we're on the verge of getting into more lawless systems like Pyro, I think multi-role is a great advantage to have, because you don't know what's lurking around the corner and you'll be able to react to whatever comes at you.
And that's why we're introducing the Constellation's big brother, the RSI Galaxy. The RSI Galaxy is a multi-role vessel with true modularity that has different sections.
All right, so it looks like we've got right here is the forward bridge. Looks like we have the captain's quarters of some kind. Maybe it's a bathroom or escape pods. Then we've got the mess. Looks like a meeting room. And then we've got, these are 4 beds. Then the captain's room. So it looks like it's a crew of 5. And then they said this is engineering. So I'm guessing a lot of the engineering stuff will be back here. And then there's some other modules around here as well. I think these are weapon options that are remote turrets as well. That'll probably be these 2 seats.
Sections of the middle of the ship that can be...
And then this is the front area of the ship. This is like where the nose is. I don't know what's here. And then they've got this area here, which has got like an elevator. And then this is the cargo or the module area. And this is the actual like hangar bay.
Changed out to support significant and real gameplay loops.
It is built on the same kind of ethos as the...
Is that a cargo deck, the upper one?
The Connie, but it's scaled up to a larger crew size.
The Galaxy has a very industrial feel compared to previous iterations, and the Constellations are...
Yeah, it looks like there's some sort of docking bay for these different things. If you can look at this, based off of this size,
focus on its
while it's not perfect, you can tell that this is about slightly smaller. The processor is about slightly smaller than the Freelancer. So you can think of this as maybe like 2.5 to 3 freelancers, or like 2 Connies-ish long.
Combat capabilities.
It's not a warship, so it's not bristling with guns, but it's got what it needs. We were just going for a ship that when you saw it...
What's connected to the hangar is the modular cargo deck. Yes, but I'm talking about the second deck. So if you went back here. So like if we go back up to the top right here, this area here is not in line with that at all. That's the hangar. That's secondary hangar above the hangar. This is all above the normal area.
To previous iterations, and the Constellation's a prime example. It has far less focus on its combat capabilities.
It's not a warship, so it's not bristling with guns, but it's got what it needs. We were just going for a ship that when you saw it, it just looked like you want to just get together with your friends.
And if you look at the size of this, it means that that's about the size of a Pisces, which means you may be able to fit like an Aurora in there. That's what the hangar is. So if you look at that, an Aurora is like a third of the interior. How will this compare to the Carrack? It's not a Carrack killer in any way, shape, or form. This is much more of a modular industrial ship.
Get that thing off the ground, turn it around, and just fly as far as you can. For me, I think the favourite thing about the Galaxy is just the look of it, in conjunction with the layout. It does keep that classic RSI sort of sub-capital shape to it.
You mean the Perseus
We've
shape?
got the nice big exposed engines with we were starting to bring like metal onto the engines, like a kind of a titanium material to complement the kind of cooler greys and blacks of the rest of the superstructure.
For me, RSI goes into kind of 2 different groups. You've got the slightly kind of more bulbous shaped ships, and then you've got this really aggressive arrow-headed kind of stance. And I think for me, the Galaxy kind of really falls into that arrow-shaped kind of, driving the ship forward.
It's just an Anaconda.
The interior architecture of the RSI brand is something that I really enjoy because it's got those nice...
The picture shows how tall the cargo bay is. Let me go back there and see if we can see that real quick. Yeah, so that's the cargo. So the hangar bay is tall, is what it is. So that's what that back area is just part of the hangar bay. That's huge hangar bay. What would you need that bay? I guess it's also a cargo bay, technically. But
enjoy because it's got those nice upturned classic sci-fi walls that sort of canter in at the top. And it is a bit of a challenge designing those because it means they need a bit more room inside the vessel. So you just got to make sure you've got a bit more space.
If it does have a tier 1 bed, you point out it really sort of kills the Apollo. Not really. Just because you have a larger ship doesn't mean that the Apollo is dead. The Apollo is more of like a clinic. You don't need to carry many people to have the Apollo working. The Apollo can work with like 1 or 2 people.
But when you've got a bigger ship like the Galaxy, there's enough room in there to get your accommodation for your 6 players, all your functional habitation and recreation and all your kind of...
Don't say this is an Anaconda. I thought that's what the Perseus was. I mean, it looks like an Anaconda because the Perseus is like it's a bit more of a typical, looks almost like a naval vessel. This looks like an Anaconda in the sense that it goes out and back down and back in the back. Though I guess it's also kind of Imperial Navy style.
Kind of crew positions and everything. There's enough room to do that and have these cool extra wide corridors with a nice architecture.
Starting at the bridge, it's a central bridge that looks down onto the main part of the ship. Directly behind that, in the top deck, you have the habitation section. So you'll have a shared habitation space, and then moving further back, you have individual bedrooms, as well as the captain having their own office as well as bedroom. Behind that, you have the engineering section that looks down onto the hangar area. And it's probably one of my favourite parts of the ship, because it has a nice look down onto the actual hangar, which is a rear loading hangar, which is really cool in my opinion. The floor beneath that is where the module is, within the center.
A rear loading hangar. So I'm guessing that has a ramp on it, but we'll see.
Of the ship. It's a relatively large space for...
Maybe we should see more wide orientation ships, saucers, wedges, in addition to standard long ships. I'd love to see that, but that's much more of a Xi'an style. Honestly, I'd love to see a saucer come out of the Xi'an. Though I could see a saucer coming out of the Vandul.
You might need. And directly connecting to the module section.
There we go. So that's the second deck up there. And then this is the engineering stuff is back over here and down below. So there's like engineering stuff is on the other side. And then this area is the second deck. So this shows you how tall it is. It's about two MPUVs tall.
There's the hangar.
So the 3 modules that are available are a cargo module, which increases the cargo capacity of the ship significantly.
Yeah, so those are 2 tractor beams which can be used to pull up stuff. So
there's a refinery module, which it's got a sweep mechanism with the
a refinery module, which
underneath where the cargo ramp opens, and we've got the saddlebag deposit. So this thing's going to work really well with something like a prospector.
And then the last one is a medical module.
The medical module is split into 2 halves. So in the very center, there's a lift that'll bring you up. So if there's anyone injured in a vehicle, you can get them straight into the actual medical wings. Alternatively, you can use the hangar at the back to fly someone in and unload them into the actual Galaxy. Inside the actual medical wing, you have an assortment of different tiered med beds for...
So we pointed this out, someone pointed this out, that this is likely 3 tier 3s, 2 tier 2s, and 1 tier 1. If they continue to keep this loadout the way it is. With kind of bays here and here as kind of like check-in locations. And obviously this area is not wasted space. This is a hangar, an elevator that goes down.
Whatever injury the person might have sustained.
We're going to see the Kurthok just graze with their saucer ships. That would be cool. Yeah, Kurthoks as they go.
Although it's been a while since we've showed off a modular ship or released any new ships that were modular, it isn't something that we wanted to move away from. Modular ships have a unique place in the universe because it helps push the multi-crew and multi-role ship. It's part of the reason why.
Yeah, this is definitely not a soloable ship. I don't think you will have. They have two remote turrets, which are probably size 3s, so 4 size 3s. And even if they were size 4, they put it in very, very small category of ships.
There's been less emphasis on multi-role ships in the universe recently. Now that we're getting closer to being able to deliver it, it's something we want to start.
Actually, we do have tier 2 beds. The Carrack has a tier 2 bed. So does the 890 Jump. They're both tier 2 tier 2 beds.
Revisiting again. The RSI Galaxy is perfect for a group of friends who want to be able to try lots of different aspects of the game.
Actually, all of the station beds are also tier 2 beds. Tier 1 beds are the ones you see in hospitals.
And not limit themselves to one individual part, who one day might decide that them and all their friends are going to go out and do a load of mining and refining, making lots of money from gathering resources. But then the next day might decide that they want to do some cargo hauling across the verse. So they go from one system to another, transporting huge amounts of goods. The next day they might decide that them and their friends want to have a battle, so they need someone to be able to heal people. It's a ship that allows them to experience the most of the game without limiting themselves.
Those are even an underslung turret too. So there's 2 underslung turrets and 1 underslung turret and 2 side turrets. So the pilot may be able to have some of that. Let me reverse that again so we can see that the comparison. So this is a large ship hangar, ship bay. We see these before. They hold things like the Reclaimer, the Hammerhead, and the Carrack. This seems to be about the entire length of it. Oh, which means it should be about 2 Connies big. But it's mostly, and people say, oh, it's the size of a Carrack, but the Carrack is thick. It's tall. It's got 3 or 4 decks plus its length. This is probably not as long or as tall as the Carrack. Yeah, under the nose, you can see it there.
The RSI Galaxy is the newest concept ship making its debut at this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And you'll get your chance to learn even more about it during RSI Day this Saturday, November 26th. But the Galaxy isn't the only rumored vehicle to arrive at this year's event.
Yeah, so sort of. The way CIG does all of their tools, so remember how you talked about, someone's asked if this is an engine. Remember how CIG did things like Mighty Bridge? These tools are designed for artists to be able to effectively sculpt what they want to on the programs they use and then plop them directly into the game. Now they're not usable, they need other touch-ups, but the idea is you can see how they will look in-game depending on a lot of other factors. So a lot of those tools that they've developed, that is the reason why people think, and like myself, think that Montreal is on, like they put something in the poutine there, is because they just have all the tools that they can use to just plop in that stuff. So.
And Anvil Day brought with it the brand new C8R Pisces, the space ambulance that some requested and many others never knew they quite wanted. Let's find out more as this IAE.
Is there a video reference on the ship tool? There was a presentation that they did, or there was a couple of posts that from the Mighty Bridge tool, which was done by Turbulent. Their social media did one. I think it was their Facebook had that reference, but that's the closest one. There's a couple of things talking about Mighty Bridge in the past as well.
ISC continues.
The C8R is a new entry medical level.
The Apollo also has the option for a tier 1 bed. Yes, the Apollo can be swapped out for one tier 1 bed. So good as the R stands for racing.
Vehicle. It's a variant of the well-loved Pisces.
We decided to make it a little bit faster than the regular Pisces, just so you can get to emergencies just that little bit quicker, slightly better for someone surviving. We have had to remove a little bit of the range. It's no longer a exploration ship like the regular C8 and the C8X, so it cannot jump quite as far as they can. We added some siren lights so people can see when you're coming. We've also given it a traditional medical colouring, so we've gone for a nice little...
So that then brings me to mind the question: will this potentially speed up the ship pipeline? Yes, all the tools will speed up the ship pipeline. However, it doesn't matter how fast the pipeline is if they don't have the fucking people to work on it, which they don't currently. They're constantly hiring.
Red and white.
The C8R is a variant of the Pisces, so it benefits from the paints that exist for the Pisces itself can be used on that, and the reverse is also true. So some of the more medical themed paints can also be put on the base one, which I'm sure people will find various interesting ways of using and misusing.
Hey, look, it's Vertigo.
We have gone for a very clean style on the inside. When you step in through the ramp, you'll notice that there is some of the decontamination ports towards the bottom of the area. There's then a large frosted glass door that will open up. We have, off to the right, a tier 3 medical bed. And off to the left, we've got some storage. We've got a fridge for you that's stocked up with a couple of meds for you when you get the ship. We've had to remove one of the jump seats that came with the regular C8. However, that's been replaced with the medical terminal.
It's also a great partner to the Carrack, which obviously has a tier 2 medical bed. So
we need a ship girl for the Galaxy now. Maybe a theme around each module. Maybe. I mean, there's all of the ones we've had so far are only like the baselines or like variants, like the Stalker Titan. We haven't done the Renegade Titan, which would look something similar probably. Though I've always wondered if it would be better to do an entirely different like character for those, or to just have them have different outfits. So, what's better, tier 1 or tier 3? Tier 1. Tier 1 is the respawn bed. Tier 3 is the ambulance bed. You can do everything on a tier 1. The only thing on tier 3 you can do is heal tier 3 injuries.
So now Carrack owners can use C8R as a sort of a advanced medical scout to be able to ferry injured people back for further treatment.
I can see people using it for going out to bunker missions, just getting out there, doing all the murdering that they do, getting all the stuff back into Pisces, and then making sure that any nicks, cuts, grazes, or broken arms that they've got fixed before they move on to the next location.
The C8R is obviously for those sort of players who want to support other players in the game. It's never going to win a combat fight. It doesn't have the durability to last in engaged combat, but it is there primarily.
Controversial take, they should have removed the guns. There should be no guns in that damn thing. It should be absolutely gunless.
And almost solely to rescue injured players or NPCs and keep them alive long enough to get them to somewhere to heal more severe injuries.
They really need to rethink bed tiers. Tier 3 is almost useless currently. Should give it 1 or 2 respawns. Nah, the only reason why it's useless is because the respawning is so simple and easy. Once they started adding in things like Death of a Spaceman, which will come in soon, you'll start to see the result kind of have a big effect on people. So tier 3s will be valuable for those that have them, but there'll be more. The reason why tier 3 is kind of a joke is because only like 2 ships have them and everyone else has tier 2s or tier 1s. So as more tier 3s come out and as they do things like, I don't know, give us a modular version, something that we can add a tier 3 bed to an existing ship somehow, like in a cargo bay, that you'll start to see their value more and more. Should have med guns. Shut up while I heal you with my guns. Well, what they should have done was replace the guns with tractor beams. That's what they should have done. That's what the no guns but tractor beams, so you could like move like Jaws of Life kind of thing, move things away.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that specialized vehicles will always have their place in the persistent universe, but that a more rounded multi-role experience might just be what's needed out there in the less civilized regions. That the galaxy isn't just the Connie's big brother, but a return of player-facing modularity and potential harbinger for that system's future development. And that the new C8R Medical Pisces isn't just a standalone ambulance, but a solid addition to any ship with a hangar that can support it. Now, if you watched last week's Star Citizen Live IAE 2952 Super Talk Spectacular, you might have heard me mention about us finally pulling the curtain back on the Polaris internal layout rework this week. And here's where we have sort of a good news and bad news type situation.
Get the pitchforks and the...
is that the shortened Thanksgiving holiday this week means we weren't quite able to get that going where we wanted it to be for this show.
Riot. Burn the whole place down. They didn't get us what they lied. CIG lied to our faces. They lied to our faces. They broke my trust. I'll never trust them again. Sorry. Being hyperbolic.
But the good news is that we'll have plenty of time to explore the new Polaris concept layout next episode. So hopefully with even a more in-depth...
This is what I mean. They're communications, which is fine.
...look than we would have managed this week. So stay tuned for that. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate, and we'll see you all here next week.
They didn't actually lie, but you know that's what that I'm sure there's already Spectrum posts that say something to that effect. So yes, that's the ISC this week. So interesting stuff about the you know their design process for the Pisces R, the C8R, but the Galaxy is interesting because there's a couple of things we can pull away from that. Number one, the Galaxy is not coming out anytime soon. CIG has had a policy very loosely enforced, hello Raft, where they will not release a ship until the functionality of that ship is in-game. Now, technically, trading is still in-game, so the Raft still works as a trader. But its actual functionality has nothing to do with trading and has everything to do with being the crane operator that can then pick up, you know, big cargo pods and put them onto their ship and fly, which is the reason why they had that ready for last year, is because they thought that the cargo refactor was going to come in faster than it did, and it didn't. So now by the time it actually gets useful, minimum it's going to have been 2 years since it was announced and released. So, but still, generally speaking, they've been moving away from making ships until they have functionality in them. So as a result, we can think of a couple things. One, medical is in the game, so that's not too bad. Cargo's in the game, but refining is not. Now that could come in the next year, probably more like 2 years though. So minimum, this ship isn't coming out for another 2 years. And I think minimum price is going to be 600. It might be cheaper. That would be surprising if it was cheaper. But I think minimum price is going to be $600. Can you log off on the bed? Not on the bed on the Pisces, no. I wish you could on medical beds. That would make a lot of sense to be able to log off on medical beds. Caterpillar's module, yeah. And for those of you who are wondering, like, whoa, why suddenly get modularization? Because that's another thing. CIG wants to get modularization in. They've been working on off and on it this year. It's been off and on the roadmap several times. So I think the concept is, at least CIG is fairly confident that modularization will come in the next 2 years. That is my guess because of the current status it's in. They're waiting for a lot of other stuff. Hey, Jonas. Do I think the tier 1 medical bed in the Galaxy will actually be a tier 1 bed? Yes. My first impression is that was the desk of the doctor's office. No, it's had a bed on it. There's no way it's a desk of a doctor's office. It's a tier 1 bed. I wouldn't be surprised if it had a tier 1, tier 1, 2 tier 2s, and 3 tier 3s. And I think a lot of people are like, but my Apollo! Your Apollo is fine. It's smaller, requires 1 crew member, and has a gurney attached to it. It's a smaller version of it. It's probably going to be cheaper than that, too. Isn't the Apollo only like $300? It may fit 2 Aurora side by side. I think that it might be a little tight. If anything gets big, I think that'll get a little bit bigger, because I think they could probably fit like a small cargo ship of some kind. Speaking of tier beds, I could just respawn on my tier 2 and my Carrack if I get a tier 1 injury. Kind of needs a workaround to make sense. Not really. The way that all right, let me explain this. This is the same thing I explained the tree, which is if you respawn at a Carrack, you have tier 2. 2 things are going to happen. 1, you will have less of a life. You will be an incel. No one will love you anymore. No, your what's called the imprint viability score, or IVS, will go down. Now, this is an in-lore explanation for why you eventually have the big death, but you have only a limited number of respawns per character. And then you have the big death, which is kind of like semi-permadeath, where your character is dead, and you have to create a new character who then inherits a lot of your old character's stuff. It's up to you how you're related or whatever. But you will take a hit in reputation and in finances. You have to pay kind of like an inheritance tax to get that back. That's not active now for obvious reasons, but eventually, when you respawn, you will take that hit. Now, they've said that I think they've not just almost confirmed that tier 2 beds will have respawn versus tier 1 beds, but I can guarantee you that tier 2 beds have lesser capabilities, meaning they're going to need eventually things like respawn gel. It's called what is it called? It's called regen gel. The regen gel. So you need to have regen gel, which is an actual commodity, will be in game that you will have to load into your ship. So you may only have enough regen gel for like 1 regen, or maybe enough stuff to use for other purposes. And also, it's probably going to be a lower quality, so it'll be a higher hit on your IVS, which means you have less of that like hard health bar. You have soft health, which is your character's health, and then the hard health, which is your overall, you have the amount of time you have before you die. So IVS determines when you get the big D, and not the good big D, the bad big D. So that stuff is planned in the future, but they haven't implemented it yet because bugs alone would cause people to be on their 17th new character, and reputation really doesn't matter that much right now because they haven't really expanded it enough. There's lots of other things they have to get before they do that. So they have the basics in place. They just need to expand from there. I can see an arrow or 2 easily fitting inside the Galaxy. I think you could probably fit based off of what I saw, I think you could probably sideways fit a Scorpius inside of one of those, because of its way it folds in. But if I'm mostly dead, doesn't that mean I'm slightly alive? Yes, you are slightly alive, but it's going to hurt more the next time you get mostly dead. Exactly. C8R is meant to heal people enough to actually get to the medical bed. It's meant to get you from, like, stabilize you from dying. So you could limp to the bed rather than, you know, be dead. What if someone, sometimes your IFE is low, you come back and apparently okay, but with craving for human flesh and poor impulse control? I think that's between you and the law there, Trouble Magnet. Concept art scale can be all over the map, just an imagination aid. That's true. It could be, but they seem to be, especially recently, they seem to be a lot more working with the actual concept. That can change, though. I'm sure that the size of that cargo bay will, or the hangar will change slightly to fit what they want to, or to prevent other things from happening. You don't get fixed in an ambulance. That's the job of the hospital. Exactly. And you can think of a tier 2 bed. You can think of a tier 1 as like an ambulance, or tier 3 as an ambulance. Tier 2 is like a clinic, and tier 1 is like a surgery suite. So you can get most of your healing done with tier 2. And CIG's goal is that most people are going to experience tier 3 or tier 2 injuries. Tier 1 injuries are things that happen when you do not repair a tier 2 or tier 3 injury and you have multiple injuries on top of that. So they see it as like an IRL. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's the whole point. Do you think they'll implement items for restoring humanity, i.e. viability score? Yes, they definitely will have missions and other things. They've even talked about the idea of going to pay for like rejuve treatments to be able to regain some of your IVS, your IV score, which would probably cost an arm and a leg, or require some crazy things you have to do to keep yourself alive. So things like having, because eventually what happens is that as you respawn, your body starts to break down because you have what's built up of these things called trauma echoes, which are effectively your life imprinted on your brain. And the more echoes that build up, meaning, I guess, it's heavily implied because they don't want to fully say it, but you effectively get constant, complicated PTSD because you keep dying. And complex PTSD, but they don't want they want to keep it classy. They don't want to kind of do that kind of shit because that's fucked up and weird, and it's not okay for people who actually have it. They want to kind of hint towards that what's happening to you is not physical after you regen, because in theory you're fine. What's happening to you is mentally, your brain is starting to shut down. Your brain is not making the same pathways it used to be. You aren't able to control parts of your body anymore. So as a result, you have to get replacement surgery for like prosthetics, like maybe like all of the nerves in your arm are dead. Maybe that kind of thing when you come back in. And that's what that buildup of errors, these buildup of trauma in your brain, will eventually cause you to not be able to regen at all, because you're just nothing will come out. Your body will form, but your brain dead. So that's why it's like when I look at Star Citizen, the more I look into the lore, I'm more like, this is a dark ass fucking universe. This is super dark fucking universe. This isn't like getting re-sleeved or anything, which is still pretty dark. It's like you die and then come back to life right after the moment of your death. I love it if taking tours and other vacations will help regen you. Yeah. Like you go to like a specific clinic on a specific planet that's like high end, so you can get a rejuve treatment to do that kind of stuff. I better be more borked out than Atom Smasher. Well, that's the idea. Over time is eventually you will need to either have cybernetic parts, or you'll need to have like replacement parts built in, which will probably be more expensive, but will probably cause your IVS score to go up a little bit. My guess is the cybernetic parts will probably be an optional thing for players, because a CIG has to know that if they make it so that people who get injured will get get cybernetic parts, people will do the thing where like, all right, I'm gonna put my arm out. All right, take the saw and just cut it off. Just cut it off right here. Just cut it off. Be fine, and I'll go get. They're gonna do that because they want cybernetic parts. They'll do it. So having the option to intentionally cyberize yourself would make sense, but to have some sort of benefit for it or downplay for it. So like, it's not as maybe it has an impact on your IVS score, or you have to rebuild you have to like rebuy your cybernetic limbs every time you die. So it's like an equipment slot, not just a thing. The story drama of someone whose IVS is gone. They're trying to find some legacy to leave somewhere to have no one left to inherit from. Exactly. That kind of stuff. Great exploration for Fountain of Youth to erase some of those trauma points. Yeah. Those parts would lower your score. I think it's less than lowering your score and more that they'll become equipment rather than your arms. So that when you regen, if you died out in the middle of nowhere, so you died in Pyro and you regen back in Stanton, guess what? You got to get brand new cybernetic parts. You got to buy them from scratch. So what you got back is your normal squishy little hands rather than your cyber parts. So now you have to go do that again. But see, this is the thing that opens up, this is one of the reasons why when I take a look at things like regen and how it works in lore and how it works in gameplay for Star Citizen, it opens up a shit ton of possibilities, new narrative arcs, new stories that players will have to do themselves, because some people will be like, I don't want to fucking die. I know my IVS score is low. I may not come back if I die again. I got to get this back because I don't want to have to pay the hit for reputation and money. So now you're suddenly going out as this effectively old man on his deathbed trying to find some way of clawing back some of your life back. That's some like classic storytelling shit right there. All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with us. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to call it a day and wrap it up, and I'll be back tomorrow for an extra long stream. If you haven't already checked that out, we've got the Astro Historians version of the lore tours up already for you to do that. So I don't know. For all the complexity it adds, I'd rather just have them say you were rescued off screen. It doesn't add that much complexity. It's in reality, it's not that complicated. We need some altered carbon easy res clones. You don't really have res clones with Star Citizen though, but it's something similar to that, where you don't have sleeves. You're reprinted as the person you were. It's just you have suffered a lot of damage. So the existential complexity, I like it. As long as it's wrapped up into the story, is wrapped up into the universe and makes sense in lore. They've done a pretty good job of that. So anyway. Y'all, love your faces. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Have a good, if it's not Thanksgiving for you, have a good Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow for a longer stream for Star Citizen and Darktide. And all of this weekend, we'll be doing some more wonderful stuff. So have a happy Thanksgiving. Have a happy IAE. Have a happy Crusader and Tumbril Day. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.